Hi, this is Kajukenbo Live, coming out of South Lake Tahoe, California. I'm Senior Grandmaster Jimenez, and today we have a special guest all the way from Chicago, Grandmaster Rick Villalobos. He's a ninth degree, and we're lucky to have him on the immunity today. And Grandmaster, you on the line?
Yes, I am. How are you, Mr. Jimenez? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's great. I'm doing great over here. How's everything in Chicago over there?
Very cool. It's cooling down now. The heat is coming down. The weather's changing.
Yeah, we had all the smoke over here because of the fires. It was last couple.
Yes, I've been reading, looking at the news on that. It's incredible.
Oh, the last couple of weeks we couldn't even breathe out here. In fact,
Yes,
I thought,
it's all over. That's terrible.
yeah, it was like I thought I almost had to go to the ER because it was like somebody sitting on my chest for like a week.
Wow, that's really bad.
You can actually see the smoke
hmm
going all over everything. So let's see. How long have you been in the martial arts?
I started my martial art training very young. Back in '67, I know it was 1967, June of 1967, and right about the middle of the year, you know. And my mom had all of us kids, you know, I have five other siblings. All of us kids take up martial arts because she saw a kid being chased down by gangs, very prominent street gangs, and he got beat to death and ended up dying a couple of days later. My mom vowed that none of her children would ever get involved in gangs or witnessed or get, seen somebody being at that.
Mm-hmm.
And the young man was probably about 14 or 15 years old, and it still affected my mom greatly. You know, none of us ever were in gangs. None of my brothers and my sisters. You know, so we were very fortunate to be involved in martial arts.
Wow. So that's what got you into the martial arts, huh?
Yes, my mother. My dad really didn't. He was always working all the time. My mom was the one that, we heard, drive-by shootings back in the 60s and 70s. We had them then, too.
They still got it now over there.
Pardon me?
They still have it.
Oh, yeah, terribly. Just a few houses down where I live, a guy got shot waiting for the mail, drive-by shooting. They got the test that, these gangbangers go through. To prove themselves that they're with the gang, they got to do like a registered hit.
Yeah.
It doesn't care that if you shoot a woman or a kid. It shows that you show loyalty and bravery. To me, it's all nonsense, but it still exists to this day.
Yeah, it's very sad. In fact, I was just watching the news and there's shootings all over. It's just unreal. It's just pathetic.
Yes, it's terrible.
So what kind of what styles of martial arts did you teach?
Well, I teach right now. My system is I call my system Kung Fu Survival Academy, and it's actually a combination fist style. It teaches. I teach Shaolin Chuan Fa, which is a prominent basic style that was taught in China, and then the wandering monk or the begging monk style. It's a very unknown style that it was brought from Shaolin to America through several different instructors, Mr. Yi and Master John Tai taught a different form of Chuan Fa. And I incorporated that, and I studied Kempo with John McSweeney, one of Ed Parker's first black belts. And he's called the father of Irish karate, Kempo karate in Ireland.
Yeah.
Sadly, he passed away some years ago.
Oh. Yeah, in fact, I was just watching. It's kind of funny. I was watching Elvis Presley's seminar, and Ed Parker brought him in, and he did a seminar, and actually it was kind of comical. I laughed through the whole thing because he just looked like a clown out there. But I seen a young Ed Parker behind him when he brought him in and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. My understanding that at the same time that he was studying under Ed Parker, he was studying under Korean martial artist Kang Lee.
They're the same thing.
Kang Lee, Kang
Yeah.
Rhe. Elvis Presley studied with him. He had black belts in Kempo and a style a Chinese Korean style called pasuru, and in pasuru it had contained many elements of Chinese kung fu with Korean indigenous kicking, and in conjunction with Hapkido. So it was a mixed martial art, very eclectic martial art that was taught right after the Korean War. It was developed here in the United States, but he cross-trained in several martial arts. And Ed Parker knew of Master Ken Reed, Grandmaster Ken Reed.
Yeah.
And they had exchanged, knowledge a little bit. And I don't know if you remember that movie, Kill the Golden Goose, with Ed Parker was in it.
Yeah.
And another prominent martial artist, Bong Soo-han, was a Hapkido.
Yeah, I heard it.
But before he started Hapkido, he studied Kwanbap, which is it's the same martial art that I was taught. It's called, Kwanbap means, Kwan means fist, Bap means law, or law fist. It's the Korean version of Kempo. It's much older than Ed Parker or Charles, Kwai-Sun Charles Kempo, or Mitosi's Kempo. It's probably about the same age as Mitosi's Kempo. So there's a lot of mixed influences in the Korean as well as the Japanese martial art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I seen one of the. I was sitting next to Ed Parker when we were judging in a tournament, and I was talking to him, and he had a big gaudy ring on, full of diamonds. And I asked him, I go, "Did Elvis give you that?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, that's one of Elvis's rings." But you can tell it was just really huge and gaudy, but it was a lot of diamonds all over it, huge diamonds everywhere.
Yes, he bought the Kwan, or the studio, from Master King Lee, and he also gave gifts away like Cadillacs to some of his friends. He was a remarkable individual. Yeah. He was. I used to love watching his movies and stuff when I was a little kid. And watching him do all that stuff and stuff. Yeah, he was pretty cool dude. They said he had a remarkable memory. What is that? He can look at a script and memorize it within a matter of moments. He's got it down pat. And Ed Parker made a comment, Grandmaster Ed Parker made a comment that he knew all the manual requirements of Kempo by memory, and the techniques as well. So he had a fantastic memory of techniques. Or other black belt, intermediate or advanced black belts had a hard time memorizing the curriculum of Kempo. Elvis Presley just knew it all. He just picked it up. And he could retain a technique easily. That's how good his memory was.
Well, let me tell you, and it's not hard to memorize a script, because I did a few movies, and let me tell you, it's not easy. I mean, you're reading this script, and you got to say your lines, and it's a whole sentence. And sometimes the producer, they're strict. They want you to use every exact words in that thing. And I'm not gonna lie, I had a hard time. They had to cut several times because either I didn't remember it, or I said it wrong, or they didn't like the way I said it, and it was do it over. But so it's not easy to do that.
No, and to look convincing and natural while memorizing your script as well as acting. That's the key, is looking natural and your facial, your gestures and mannerism. It has to be natural.
Yeah.
That's hard to do.
No.
Memorizing something and doing and acting at the same time. That's very hard to do.
Well, let me tell you this quick story. I competed in the past in front of thousands and thousands and thousands of people right in the middle of the stage all by myself. That never bothered me. Never even tripped on it. It was just like go out there and do it, and do all that stuff. But I had to do a love scene in this movie. Let me tell you, that was the hardest thing in my entire life I had to do, was do that scene. Because it just wasn't just me and the girl. You got sound people, you got grip people, you got producers, you got camera guys, you got lighting guys. And they're all around this, and it's like, okay, let's do it again. Okay, let's do it again. It's embarrassing. And that's why some of the actors, when you see them, like when Sylvester Stallone and Sharon Stone did a scene, you think, wow, that got cool. They said no. Or like Michael Douglas and Sharon Stone, he said no, it's not cool. He said, you know how many takes we do this? He says there's nothing sexual about it. He goes, and it's not easy to do because you got too many people in there. And let me tell you, that was the hardest thing my entire life I had to do was that scene.
Right.
Yeah. So it's
That's incredible.
it's crazy. So tell me, how did the martial arts help you in life?
Well, getting back to what you were saying about acting, the martial arts gave me a lot of confidence. I'm a very small individual, small man, and I'm about 5'4", 200 pounds, pretty heavy for my size. You know, I should be about 145 pounds.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they do that. You know, doctors estimate you should be this weight, that size, at this age, and so forth. But the martial arts gave me more confidence, you know, to be assured of myself, you know, in work and in life in general. It's helped me out tremendous, you know. And
Yeah.
a lot of it was being in a zen-like state, you know, being adaptable. And then getting back referring to acting, most martial artists have to learn how to act. You know, you can be a very timid individual like I was, but you've made your posturing, you know, made yourself look more sure of it, even though at times you weren't sure of yourself, you know,
Yeah.
in job promotions or having a speech in front of people, you know, or to make a comment, you know, or to get the nerve up to do just about anything. So it's helped me in that way, you know, and as a martial artist too, you have to learn how to be an actor.
Sure.
You know, sometimes you know you have more strength than other people realize, and even though you look timid, you're inside you're a ferocious tiger. You know, and
Yeah.
there's times that you want to unleash the beast, but you say to yourself, you know, now is not the time. Just relax. Let this guy keep talking. Let him blow steam out. Walk away. Avoid. You know.
Yeah.
So that's acting to me a lot, and in a martial sense, acting. You know.
Mm-hmm. Well, it helped me
But
a
it's
lot.
very
It helped me a
difficult.
lot when I was little kid because like I'd be really shy and like if I had to stand up and read something in
Mm-hmm.
a paragraph in class, whatever, I would just take the F because I would get nervous and I kind of stutter a little bit.
Sure.
You know how kids are. They're mean. They start teasing me
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. So I just took the F. But then when I got into martial arts, that it snapped me out of that real fast.
Like there's a lot of anxieties people have to overcome, you know, shyness, and then a lot of people don't know what you're going through inside family life. Maybe you don't have parents, you're living with
Sure.
your grandparents, you know, or you're living with a neighbor. Or some of these kids on the street, you know, they have nowhere. I read a while back about this young lady. She was homeless and she finished high school. She had no mother. Mother was hooked up on drugs, you know, and she had just
Wow.
started martial art class in like a YMCA. And she would take showers at the YMCA and take the martial art class and gain a little confidence. And she graduated high school, you know. Now she's in her last year of college. So martial arts does a lot, you know.
Yeah. It's
But
been my
different
life,
people,
my whole
yeah.
life. That's all I've done.
Hmm.
You know. So did you do any like tournament fighting or anything like that when you were younger?
Back in the, I celebrated my 50th anniversary in the martial arts, 5 decades. And 20 of those, out of maybe 20 or 30 years, I was in and out of tournaments, you know, fighting in tournaments. I won a couple of karate grand championships and then a Kung Fu Karate Open championships.
Mm.
Then back in like the late 70s, it was kickboxing and full contact, you know, and I participated in that and being a young father. You know, I got married in 1979. By 1980, I had a child. My wife had a child, and it was really hard. You know,
Sure.
working and teaching a class at someone's studio in what we call studio here in Chicago, and a martial art academy. You know, some people call it academy, but it was very difficult. A difficult period, you know, because as a martial artist, you're trained, you know, for combat and conflict. You know, especially here in some of the cities in the United States, you know,
Yeah.
Chicago, Detroit, you know, LA and San Diego, and, you know, all these different major cities and all over the United States. You know, we got drive-by shootings, we have, you know, carjackings, home invasions, and robberies, and senior citizens being attacked because of easy access to jewelry or money where they can fence, you know, into a pawn shop.
Sure.
You know, buy drugs, you know, people are not dealing with these problems. A lot of these martial arts studios are teaching sports, and we got, kids getting kidnapped and organ harvesting, kidnapping a child and taking an organ,
Yeah.
and leaving the kid, so we're not facing these dilemmas that here in the prominent city, I got myself into some trouble not long ago with the Vietnamese martial art community, and they were talking about Shaolin, the Shaolin Temple and all that. And I said, a lot of the Shaolin Temple people that you think are monks are just Wushu troops in monks' uniform, sent there by the government.
Yeah.
The head abbot of the Shaolin Temple belongs to the People's Republic Communist Party. They put him there. He's really not even a Buddhist believer. He's actually a member of the Communist Party. So he got himself in trouble with buying a luxury car. He has an illegitimate child from a Shaolin woman nun. Which, come on, a lot of people believe in that. I made a comment that a Shaolin master, would shit in their pants, excuse the language, if he saw the violence in America.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
All these acrobatic gymnastic things that look pretty, but they're not effective. They're not common sense use. Like, get a middle-aged lady to do a split. That's first thing you get a middle-aged or senior citizen coming into class. They want you to teach them flexibility and stretching drills as though they're in their 20s and 30s, They can't do it, and people are signing contracts, and then you got what do you call it, bill collectors collecting on your contract,
Sure.
So a lot of this sport martial art is for the young, and tournaments, it's not meant for people that are in middle age. I mean, there are some exceptions. Athletical, people that run the marathon or Ironman contest, things like that. But if you're talking an average person, in their 40s, that's a grandmother, working to pay the mortgage, and, they can't afford to get thrown in, doing yukimi, rolling floor techniques and stuff like that. They got to deal with realistic techniques.
Well, that's why some people they used to get mad at me. I don't go to tournaments anymore, but couple of times I went to, I judged, and the guys flying through the air, somersaults, flips, aerials, and stuff. And I didn't give him, everybody else was 9-9, 9-9. I gave him a low score. I said, I want to see martial arts. I want to see him do some martial art techniques. I don't want to see a gymnastics routine and he'll swing a couple sides around a little bit and call it a day. I want to see a martial artist.
Right. I had this father bring his little girl. She had a red and black belt down, from Taekwondo. She was probably about 11 years old, his dad, 10 or 11. And the father said her Taekwondo instructor moved. The studio closed down. And I said, really? And he goes, would you keep her? Can she keep her rank and review it? And I said, well, I don't teach Taekwondo. There's many. Taekwondo is just a generic word for the art of kicking and punching. It doesn't mean what style. It's like karate.
Yeah, exactly.
The title karate, empty hand. What style of karate? Is it Kempo? Is it Wadaru, Kajukenbo, Shotokan? Different styles. So, anyways, I grabbed this little girl by the wrist arm and to pull her, to grab her waist and muffle her mouth. As I was like a predator.
Yeah.
She didn't know how to get out of that technique. She didn't know how to bite my fingers. She didn't know how to headbutt me, kick, do a little scoop kick to my groin as I was lifting up. She didn't even try. She just froze. I did a couple of techniques. I go, what are they teaching these people? These kids, 2 to 3 years, they're teaching forms. They're teaching katas that have no merit. And, they're all their kicks is above their head. And, they're not teaching kids.
Well, it's just a money thing now. A lot of studios are just for the money, and that's it. Yeah,
and what's going to happen is that if you sign a contract and you get injured on the street by learning, even you're trying to avoid conflict, and you do those techniques and they just bounce off the person, you're in serious trouble.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I'm not trying to teach any student how to be a fighter. I'm trying to teach them how to survive.
Sure.
Escape to gain safety, avoid conflict, avoid areas of there's known predators, that lurk and look for victims, So I tell my prospective students and students to avoid. If you have to walk around a block or a mile, don't go there.
Yeah.
Don't walk alone. It's dangerous. These streets in America are dangerous.
Yeah.
And if you call the police 911 emergency, well, you better call a taxi because the taxi will get there first.
Probably, yeah. Especially where you're at.
Terrible.
Especially where you're at, yeah.
But it's a taxi or Uber will get there first. So it's really bad now. The martial artists today, children, I can see a children's sport class. There should be a distinction. Well, I'm teaching a sport class. Anybody that says they're teaching self-defense and their students are coming home with trophies, and not exactly being honest with the parents,
Yeah.
So I much more prefer my students to learn self-defense, and it shouldn't take years. Or you got to be a black belt before you do a club technique, And I got a female student that got.
Damn it.